Yeah, is this is yours?
Something into the mic.
There you go. Hey, George. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here on short notice. My name is Josh McLaurin. I serve in the State Senate for North Fulton County. We're here today because the Board of Immigration Appeals, which is an executive agency under the Trump administration, has issued an order to deport journalist Mario Guevara today with no notice, with no explanation, except that 13 years ago, Mario Guevara had a deportation order that has been paused since then. Since then, he has been legally in the United States, doing journalism, spending time with his family, and just being a citizen without a criminal record. And he was arrested on some trumped-up charges that have since been dropped in June, and was put into ICE detention at that time and has remained in ICE detention, awaiting his opportunity to clear his name and go back to living as a productive and responsible citizen in the United States, where he has been for decades. Today, with no warning, the Board of Immigration Appeals decided that it would dredge up that 13-year-old order and send Mr. Guevara out of the country. The Board of Immigration Appeals decided to do this, notwithstanding that Mario Guevara has an active case in federal court where he's seeking habeas relief to try to prove, again, that he's entitled to stay in the United States under the same rules and practices that he has been for decades. Ignoring that federal court proceeding was happening, the BIA proceeded anyway, and his lawyers are currently scrambling to figure out what the BIA ruling was even all about in terms of what its legal basis was or why it's happening right now. So I want to make something very clear for anybody who's listening. This is not just a court in the traditional sense. It's not the judiciary with Senate-confirmed judges. This is an executive agency, the Board of Immigration Appeals, with judges that are appointed by other executive officials responsible to the Trump administration who have made this decision. So make no mistake, this is not an isolated incident. This is not the result of a court proceeding. This is yet another attempt by the Trump administration to silence and chill journalists from just doing their jobs. And not just journalists, to silence the speech of people in media, people of influence, who are speaking out across the country about some of the overreaches of this administration. When Mario Guevara was arrested, he was reporting on ICE and ICE operations in the metro Atlanta area. And so, again, this is one journalist, and this is a journalist who is not a U.S. citizen, but he's part of a much bigger picture. We know that late-night hosts are Trump's latest target. Trump has made it very obvious that he wants to go after late-night hosts and remove their FCC licenses if they disagree with him. We should understand Mario Guevara's detention and deportation and intimidation as part of this larger picture of the Trump administration taking actions against free speech in this country and creating one of the most dangerous environments for free speech that we've ever seen in American history. I'm honored today to be joined by Richard Griffiths, who is a representative of the Georgia First Amendment Foundation, who himself was an immigrant journalist, and I'm honored to have him here today to speak about his experience in the United States as a journalist.
I came to this country in 1974. I still have my reporter's notebooks that I still use. Worked 43 years as a reporter. I was never asked in the 9 years I was here on a visa, where are you from? What are you doing here? I was always welcome to do the reporting. So this today for me is personal. To see someone thrown out of the country for doing their job, working as a journalist, is incredibly dispiriting. And it's part of a pattern. We have seen journalists attacked at 60 Minutes. We've seen them attacked at ABC News. We've seen journalism attacked at the New York Times. Today, thankfully, a judge threw out the order against the New York Times. But it is a pattern of assault on a free and independent press in this country. Bear no mistake, this is just one small piece of it. And a person who was doing his job at that rally was stopped on a pretext, if you look at the video, arrested, taken to jail. The charges never could fly, and all the charges were dropped, but he was still put into detention, and today we learn he's being deported. This is and outrage. We as Americans have to think about the institutions that protect us. Those institutions include a free and robust press and independent judiciary. In this case, the independent judiciary was not allowed to weigh in on how this journalist would be treated. And that is a very sad day for our country.
In conclusion, the status of the situation right now, I mean, we came to the Capitol here to get the message out about this at about 4 p.m. Earlier this afternoon was when Mario Guevara received the order. It was issued today. His deportation could happen at any time. So we scrambled to start getting the message out because we want the public to know that this is happening so fast. And what we've seen from the administration in other cases of deportations under the Trump administration's new mass deportation policy is they try to hike the ball, so to speak, as quickly as they can so that lawyers and judges cannot get involved. We've seen the Trump administration move people who are detained by ICE to different federal districts across the country so that they're out of the access of the judges and lawyers who were working with them when they first got detained. So we fully expect that if ICE could, they would deport Mario Guevara immediately, and that's why there's an emergency hearing being held right now as we speak. It started at 4 p.m. In federal court. The ACLU, other organizations in conjunction with the Georgia First Amendment Foundation, the Committee to Protect Journalists, the UGA Clinic for First Amendment issues, those forces and other local attorneys are working together to try to get a temporary restraining order from the federal court. I know they're seeking that relief, again, literally as we speak, to try and stop this deportation so that the federal court proceedings that Mr. Griffiths referred to have a chance to play out, so that he has a chance to show that these criminal charges were bogus, that there is no legal reason to deport him, and that he belongs in the United States. And again, this is just one man and it's just one journalist, but he represents the front line against the Trump administration's attacks on free speech across the board. Again, this was a week when we saw the attack on late-night hosts in general, and Trump, who is emboldened by that, has given comments to press where he said, well, if anybody does negative coverage of me, I guess we should just revoke their FCC licenses. So he's being open about his intentions, and we should understand this action by the BIA and ICE, both executive agencies, as part and parcel of that strategy to chill speech. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Real quick, Josh, so you said this was a 13-year-old order for his deportation. How did it bubble back up again? Does someone have to make a motion in some respect to revisit that?
So that's what's so perplexing to the attorneys working on this case, because the appeal that was in front of the BIA up until now had to do with his release on bond, right? If you remember the press conference we held just a few weeks ago, a month into his detention, the question was, could he be released pending further immigration proceedings to determine whether he could stay in the country validly? So everybody's understanding until today was that the BIA was going to rule on the bond issue. But what ended up happening was the BIA made its own decision to reach back into the files. I mean, you can imagine, like at your workplace, you got a manila folder file cabinet that's 13 years old. They went back and reached and found some legal basis that they could hang their hat on to issue an order for his immediate removal. So that's why I raised the point that the BIA is an executive agency. This is not some independent court, like we're talking about the federal court proceedings that we're having right now is an independent court. The BIA is an arm of the Trump administration with judges that are appointed by the Trump administration. So, they're dressing this up in a lot of legalese, but the simple reality of it is that the Trump administration wants this guy gone, just like they want anybody gone who is potentially providing critical coverage of the administration.
So I keep coming back to this about a Georgia treaty with gun. I keep coming back to the fact that Mr. Guevara was arrested by local police and then charged by a local sheriff's office later with charges that weren't held. There's only so much that we can do about the federal government at the state level, but I am curious about what remedies do you think, what approaches should we in Georgia have toward a federal government that is hostile to the free press?
Well, politics still matters. And Trump is still looking at opinion polls. You know, I say this a lot. If you live in a country where an authoritarian gets 70, 80% approval for the stuff he wants to do, you're in trouble. But Donald Trump is not getting that level of approval. He's getting 30, 40% at best for some of these policies that he's forcing down the throats of Americans. So it's really critical that we show up on days like today to speak to the public and declare with one voice, this is not okay. We don't want this broadside assault on free speech in this country. Now, we're here at the state level. We have the Georgia First Amendment Foundation represented. I'm a state senator. But look at J.B. Pritzker in Illinois. There may be a reason why Trump doesn't send the National Guard into Illinois, because the people of Chicago, the people in the streets of Chicago and Illinois more broadly, but also the administration at the state level, were very good at pushing back in the public sphere narratively against what Trump was trying to do, and Trump realized how unpopular his decision was. So I want everybody listening to realize your voice matters. If you don't like what's happening in your administration, if you think that we should be protecting free speech and that somebody should be saying something, you are the one to say it. And that's why we're here today, because we want the Trump administration, we want the BIA, we want ICE to know that Mario Guevara has the support of the public because he did nothing wrong. He was a lawful resident of the United States for decades, and this is pure politics. It is pure malice by the administration to choose this opportunity to dredge up a 13-year order to try to get rid of him now.
This man was a legal, working journalist looking at what the government did. He was showing the public what the government was doing. And here we have the government apparently taking retribution against him for doing that work. That should scare all of us.
What would be your encouragement or advice to any young American that is aspiring to have communications or to speak on topics of what is going on politically as an immigrant? What would be your encouragement?
So one way to resist the administration's harmful attacks on speech is to speak more. You know, there are Supreme Court cases, precedent in this country, that say the remedy to bad speech or incomplete speech is more speech. You know, this country has a strong legacy of protecting the First Amendment and inviting all to participate. In the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's murder, we've had a renewed conversation about just what it means to have an open dialogue about public debate. And I think what we're seeing from the administration today is exactly counter to that First Amendment tradition in this country of open, free debate. We're seeing the government cracking down on individual speakers. And so the first best act of resistance that any young person can make to this administration doing that is to raise your voice. We all have social media. We're all producers of content and information now if we want to be. Find your voice, put a video online, join with your friends, join a club, join Facebook groups if that's all you can do for now, and make it known as loudly as possible that we don't support what's happening and that we're not going to lie down. Trump, he's not that powerful. I mean, he's the president, and his administrative agencies can mess with people like we're seeing today. But he wants to be a dictator, and he has said that out loud. But he doesn't have to be one. If enough people say we don't like that, again, if the public opinion stays low enough, then he won't be one. But it takes all of us to make that known, and public opinion is only shaped when people speak up and shape it.
Anything else?
We appreciate everybody's time today. I'll be around. We'll both be around for a couple minutes to answer more questions. Yeah.
Cameras arrive.
Okay.
Thank you
All right. Thanks.
folks.
Appreciate it.
Anybody need my spelling of my name? Thank you.
My name is Eric Russell.
Oh, terrific.
Georgia